So Abby, this is 1 kilogram and quarter of baking flour. So you're gonna ask yourself one question: how much water is needed before baking this one? So step one, you have to use this amount. I don't know if I can call it half a liter. Then you have to pour water. This one. In this utensil, and the core of it. So this one will be enough for 1 kilogram of baking flour and quarter. So before that, you have to make sure to warm it. So I'm gonna put it on the stove. So you just warm it. You don't have to cook this water to be like you're cooking oil or something like that. Or you just want to warm it. So this water is already warmed. So I'm just showing you that you have to put on the stove and make sure that it's warmed. Then you take it out. You put in this small dish because this one will be a little bit good for baking because it's big and you can feel comfortable with it. So yeah, I think the water is still too hot. So I'm gonna remove that water that we had so that I can put the colder one to make sure that the water is warm. Yes, so after that, so I'm gonna leave the next part to Jenny because she's more expert than me. Then I'm gonna record it and I'll be speaking English so you can understand. Endelea pula. So Jenny is going to proceed. Oh, so we need to add cooking oil. So you have to warm it too. So this is cooking oil on the fry pan. So I'm gonna give it to her. Kwani vijiko vingapi? So you have to put 3 big spoons of cooking oil, mix it with the water. Ya chapatilo. So you see she has added 3 big spoons of cooking oil. Mix it in the water. Another very important thing while you're cooking anything is salt. So I think you know how much you want. So you're gonna add salt, stirring together. You need to check it if it's good or not. Was not enough, so you're gonna add some more. Check it again. It's good. Kujogo rofunga yose. Kiasi. Kiasi. So she's going to mix to put some amount of baking flour. Kwa hiyo ni kama kiasi gani? Kwa hiyo ni robo iliyobaki. So that's 1 kilogram of baking flour mixed with water. Remember, water was mixed with cooking oil and salt. So she have to stir it together. We are using hands. I think in Australia you have machine, so we are using hand. Make sure you mix all together. I think you can see that it's changing and is becoming like a mud in the rain. So make sure you mix it together and you won't see any flour. I don't know if it's flour or flour. You'll figure it out. Then you add more because the current one is too soft. Because she have to bake it until it becomes a little bit harder. So you can see she's adding more flour, whatever you call it. Mix together. So you can see the baking flour is changing and become just a little bit harder. So she keep on stirring and stirring, put it together and make sure that you won't see any flow outside. She's adding more. You can see it's changing. She's adding more and more. So she's adding more flour so that the flour, this baking can become a little bit harder so that it can be good for chapati. For now, you cannot use it for chapati, so you have to add more flour to make sure that it's changing to become a little bit hard. So what she is doing is removing all the baking that's stuck in her hand, and we have to do that to make sure that, so that by doing this, it's going to help you to be able to mix together and freely. So you can see she's removing. By removing, so you have to add flour in your hand. So you add the flour in your hand and you can see what she's doing, and the flour is getting out. We keep going. 9 minutes gone. So you can see the flour is becoming a little bit hard. So she's mixing freely and it's no longer stuck in her hands. Add more flour. You know, you have to bake to the point that it's not stacking in your hands. Lazima chifike ando tanteke chisamako. So you can see the baking is no longer stuck in her hands. So while you are mixing, you have to add a little strength so that you can mix it together very well, to make sure it mixed up together well. So just remember, the more you add flour, the more it becomes hard, and you have to keep stirring and stirring and stirring so that it can mix up together well. So ready for the next step. So while we are adding more flour so that it can become a little bit hard and red for chapati, make sure that you don't add much, because if you add much it will become too hard, and you have just to be in moderate, not too hard, not too soft. So you can see our baking is getting there. There. We are not done yet. sometimes you need to change hands because it's not that easy. So I'm not sure if you're gonna have to go to the gym first so you can get some muscles before doing what you like this. I wish you luck. Watch the step clearly. Watch and learn. Watch and learn. So you can see it's just still somehow stuck in her hand, so she's adding more flour, adding and adding. You have to make sure that it's not stuck in your hands. Not your hands, your fingers. Don't you will let you. Matobo atobo asili. Remember matobo. So you will see some spots like, I don't know how to call it in English. Lakini sipogana kwenye mikono tayari. But wherever you see that is no longer stacking in your fingers, then it's ready. Yes, I remember. She said when you hold it, you'll see some holes, which means it's ready. Not like a big holes, but you'll see some holes on it. And another thing to know that it's ready, you will see that it's no longer stuck in your hands. So you can see it's no longer stuck in her hands. Hapo naiacha kwa muda gani? Then you have to leave it for 5 minutes. Baada hapo ndo anza kusukuma. Sawa. Baada dakika 5 ndo unaanza kusukuma. So you can leave it for So you will leave it for 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes you're gonna see this following step. This is the second step. So make sure you leave it for 5 minutes to cool down. And you have to cover it. So you have to cover it. You can either use a clean clothes, or maybe you can either use anything that can cover this top dish. kwa dakika 5 for 5 minutes. So make sure that you remember the second step, that you have to cover it, you have to wait for 5 minutes, then you have to cut in small portions. So you can see what she is doing now. See what she's doing, cutting in small portion. Stir it to make like a ball, soccer ball. So you can see what she's doing. Then make something longer, like a stick, I can say. So you see what she's doing. So, and we have to put it together like that. So she's what he's doing. Yeah. Unaika unga. So you put in another plate or any dishes, and you have to make sure that the dishes have some small parts of some particles of baking flour. This is, we are doing this ili isibaki kwenye sahani. So we are doing this so that this small portion we have made won't stuck in the plate. So the flour or the flour helps it not to stuck in the plate. So she's making another one so you can understand. You see. So if you see you have cut maybe a big portion, you can just cut some to make it small, or maybe the size that you want. Watch and learn. You see what she's doing? Make it long. You see. So, tayari. Tayari natosha. So we are done for the first and second part.